स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तद् अनुवर्तते। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's session on art of parenting. You might be wondering what is Brahmachari talking this topic. In my experience, in past some years of coming in touch with Krishna consciousness, becoming a teacher, becoming a leader, and becoming a parent. Honestly speaking, a lot of the principles and practices are very common. And the more we discharge these duties responsibly, we can actually experience that these forums, leadership, teaching, learning, or parenting are in tandem with each other. If you want to become a good leader, you have to become a good teacher and a parent. If you want to become a good parent, you have to become a good leader and a teacher. Sometimes we tend to think life in terms of isolated black box segregations. But this is my experience. Some of my students call me by the nickname Mummy, which to them means that I mommy them too much in nurturing their spiritual practices. However, I think of all the compliments I could ever get as a teacher or a servant leader, this is the best compliment. In Srimad Bhagwatam, we have classic examples of high-class parenting and low-class parenting. We would like to begin by taking some case studies where we find exceptional parents with their children doing wonderful parenting. I had asked for a whiteboard and a marker. Is it appearing? Okay. So would you please share whichever parent-children pairs you are remembering from Srimad Bhagwatam? Yes? Rishabhadev. Rishabhadev had 100 sons. It seems people were quite happy about having more number of children in Vedic times. The speciality of Rishabhadev is No. His instructions that he gives to his 100 sons. And we know that he had 90 sons were Karmakandi Brahmanas, and I think 9 sons were Navayogendras, and 1 son, Bharat Maharaj, was a pure devotee. Rajarshi. So, 5th canto, 5th chapter, Rishabdev's instructions to his 100 sons is a very, very important chapter for parents to study. In fact, when I came to ISKCON, the first instruction that I ever heard was this verse, 5.5.5. Nayam deho deha bhajam druloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye tapo divyam putra kayena sattvam shuddhed yasmad brahma saukhyam tvanantam. Which means, this human form of life is not meant for sense enjoyment, like the dogs and the hogs that eat stool. Instead, it is meant to perform penances, divya tap, to purify one's existence and to achieve unending spiritual happiness. Clear-cut definition of purpose and mission of human life. What is it meant for? What is it not meant for? And the whole set of instructions there are so amazing to be studied. So you can mark that down as a homework. Study 5th canto, 5th chapter. Any other parent from Srimad Bhagwatam?
Jad Bharat's father.
Jad Bharata's father is a classic example of when you have a child who refuses to learn, what do you do? And of course, Jad Bharat is a very different case in terms of he being a pure devotee and not wanting to learn because of fear of Maya. But we hear how Jad Bharata, when his father would try to teach him Vedic culture, he would teach him Vedic mantras, he would purposefully make mistakes. And the father, he never gave up on his duty of trying to teach him. He would patiently and lovingly again and again give an attempt at trying to teach Jad Bharat. Of course, till his last breath, he continued doing that. And later on, of course, he couldn't continue. And then his brothers took charge of mishandling Jad Bharat. But he, as we say, karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That verse teaches us that we should be very attached to the fruits of our work. Right? As parents, very attached. We should expect our children to exactly fit the expectation mold that we have given them. Right? That's what that verse is telling us. No? Okay. So then we have Jad Bharata's father. He's teaching him chant Om to teach him Gayatri. Oh, he's making some sound. And the father is wondering what to do. Again he's trying. Please chant Om. And again our Jad Bharata makes his sound. It goes on. Practically he never learns. But does his father give up? Sometimes parents come and tell us, Prabhu, all your philosophy is nice, but my child, nobody can do anything. Bhagwan bhi iska kuch nahi kar sakte. I have tried whichever way, nothing works. So we can take some heart in the example of Jad Bharata's father. Any example from parenting, from Bhagwatam about parenting? Dhruva Maharaja's mother, Suniti. When Dhruva Maharaj was insulted very badly and he came seeking solace from his mother, Suniti was such a high character lady. She had no malice or envy in her heart for her co-wife. When Dhruva came crying hot tears, she had felt great grief in her heart also for the condition that she and her child has to go through. But we don't hear even once from Suniti's mouth, "Main kya karu?" That lady has dominated your father and he has become a henpecked husband, and you see what is my condition. Everything is going, so bad in our life. Why is God doing this to us? I don't understand. On and on generally people go. Suniti is a very different caliber mother. You hear what she speaks in Bhagwatam. She says, whatever your stepmother has told you about going to jungle, performing tapas to attain favor of Lord Vishnu, to get your desires fulfilled, is perfect. Which mother at age 5 will allow her child to go in the jungle to do some tapasya? But she is not on one hand criticizing or condemning, on another hand taking that situation to turn it around in favor of Dhruva Maharaja's growth. And it is because of her that we have Dhruva Maharaj. If she would have told us some otherwise things, Dhruva Maharaj would not have happened. Any one last example from Bhagwatam of exceptional parenting? There is one more example.
Queen Kunti and the Pandavas.
Queen Kunti and the Pandavas. So she had 5 sons, quite drastically different personalities from each other. And she had no support systems whatsoever, except Bhishma and Krishna. Sometimes. There were hardly any support systems for her to raise her kids. And we see in the life of Kunti Maharani reversals. In fact, I heard that Kunti Maharani is the success potency of the Lord, Yasha Shakti, who is undergoing apayash every now and then in her life. In every aspect of her life, she is becoming unsuccessful. What is her yasha? Success. She never forgets Krishna and she always acts by dharma. That is success. So, that's why she, throughout the Mahabharata, we see her caliber in the way she conducts herself as an ideal mother. So, these are some good parenting models. Yes. Yashoda and Krishna, the original one. How could we forget that? Some people say till your child becomes 5-year-old, you should not punish him. What do you see in the example of Mother Yashoda? Is that child abuse? Damodar Leela? What do you do with that example? It's very much there. So today we will first begin by learning principles of effective relationship building. Now this is not just between parents and kids. This moves like no steadiness. It is not just about parent and children, it's about any relationship. It can be in husband and wife, in-laws and outlaws, and it can mean brothers and sisters or any relationship, employee and boss in the company. All rasas, Shantidasya Sakhya Vatsalya Madhurya. Same principles apply. I recently heard this saying, what is very unique to someone is also most general. It's most common. What does that mean? That when something is happening to us, we feel it's a very unique experience to me in my parenting. But if you go at the base of those principles that exist in parenting relationships, they're actually most general. They apply in all time-place circumstances universally. So the way to become expert in any field is to actually go to the root of those principles and capture them in our practice. Then you can handle any parenting situation. And this is where my learning comes from. I first of all did my master's in education just recently, just to get to learn all this, because I was fascinated by this subject. I'm not a parenting counselor. I'm an educator from my nurture skill building point of view. But as I said, in the course of doing leadership and teaching, you learn a lot in terms of how parenting also works. So we will begin. I hope it looks like a tree. My drawing is not that great. And these are fruits. I have to tell people what it is. So just like in the tree, the roots, the trunk, the branches, and then the fruit. In the same manner, in relationships, there is modeling, mentoring, organizing, and teaching. Now you can call it as sharing. How this sequence works is, first we have to do exceptional modeling. I want you to repeat one statement after me. Children don't do what parents tell them to do. Children do what the parents do. So, if there are any kids here, they should be sent to the Sunday school. Otherwise, you will be in big trouble if they hear what I'm teaching here.
Hare Krishna. May I request you to come a little forward because we are already seeing the hall getting filled at the back. Please try to come a little forward. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes it happens that children hear me somewhere, and then later on when their parents underperform or malperform, they tell them good lessons. In fact, they threaten them that I'm going to go and tell this to Bal Govinda, what you did to me. So, I don't want to get used as a scarecrow by kids. Modeling means we are what we want our children to be. So if we want our children to be peaceful, organized, clean, compassionate, austere, self-controlled, ... If you go and ask parents, what are your expectations from your kids? They can write a samhita, like a whole 18,000 verses. My expectations from my baby. So we have to ask the simplest question in terms of you be what you want others to be. That is where it begins. So if you want your children to spend less screen time with the devices, you regulate your screen time with the devices. If you want your children to rest on time, wake up on time, and practice spiritual culture as priority, then you do that yourself in your day-to-day home situation. If you want your kids to speak to others with precision and compassion, they express their true feelings yet not disrupt relationships, then you do the same. So in the same manner, we can go on giving examples where parents, they come, कितनी बार बोला तेरे को, चिल्ला के नहीं बोलते हैं. So, how many times I told you, don't shout on others. So there we go. So this modeling is the very root of relationship, because modeling gives us trustworthiness. We become worthy of others' trust. And in this world, trust is more important than love. Material world. A father may have 10 sons, he loves every one of them, but he trusts one or two of them. So therefore, we have to become worthy of others' trust, and that comes by modeling. When it comes to teaching something to someone, modeling is not one of the ways, it is the only way to teach it to them. Generally, our attitude is, my words are for you and my actions are for myself. And that will not go. Then comes mentoring. Okay, let's talk about modeling a little more elaborately. What are the major modelings we need to do? How we take care of our own selves? Our sleep, diet, exercise, skill building, learning, growth, meeting our mentors and getting coached by them. Self-care, being emotionally, physically happy and stable. Then we have our spiritual practices. Chanting, study, deity worship, hearing, services, etc. Then we have our dealings with family members. How we deal with them, how we care for them. And then there is the way we deal with our occupation. So earlier it was called as ashrama and varna. Now it's difficult to call it like that till it becomes like that. And then our service contribution to society. Service to society. So on all these levels, how the parents are performing will reflect in the way children pick up. What are they to do with their lives? And this is where most of us desist, because it's a hard work and there is a lot of energy needed to be invested. We are better doing other things than do this in our life. Then comes mentoring. Mentoring means care, appreciation, respect, encouragement, or empowerment, service, forgiveness, ahaituki apratihata, without any motive and without any cessation. This is called, in short, caring for them. I don't care how much you know, but I know how much you care. The typical saying. Sometimes parents अपना ज्ञान प्रदर्शन करते हैं बच्चों के सामने, कि I know so much, Bhagwatam, Bhagavad Gita, whatever. So I don't care how much you know, but I know how much you care. So we have to also, in any relationship, figure this out. Especially we have to really mind our vacho vegam. That's where it begins in Nectar of Instruction, the first one. We have to really follow Vangmaya Tapa. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva Krishna is giving criteria for speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, authoritative according to scriptures, etc. and meant for doing good to others. What we speak is having a subtle seed of a particular creation that we bring around us. Anavritti hi shabdat. The Vedas mention that what I speak of you, to you and about you to others really affects our quality of relationship. You may not even know it how it is happening. But every word that we are adding into ether, you can be rest assured it is someday going to manifest into a creation. Dangerous, no? So if we have a habit of criticizing, backbiting, fault finding, all that, and then we suffer in reaction to that in terms of relationship, we should not be surprised about it. We should know this is bound to happen. Anavrittihi shabdat. The whole material creation comes from sound. And same way there is a spiritual sound that can terminate the material creation also. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But the point is, of all these things, the way to best express care is through use of proper words. We have to become very, very careful in the way we speak. Words of affirmation, very high positive expectations, words that are free from negatives are very important. Generally, one statistic says that parents tell 70 no's to their children in a day. Don't sit there. Don't look like this. Don't wear that. And they tell 9 yeses in a day. So 70 no's, and the child usually knows what is not to be done. But he hardly knows what is to be done in life. So yesterday only we had this, the baby was, we reached late home at night, and then the baby started playing, piano. Not typical. I'm really enthusiastic about it. And the father is asking me, now how is it that you don't tell him no? So I told him, you go from behind, lift the baby in your arms, give him a nice kiss and tell him, I want to tell you a nice story tonight before we go to bed. And just carry him gradually to the room. There is no discussion about the piano at all. And children, they get glued to what is in front of them. Out of sight is usually out of mind for them. You might have noticed. So, it's our choice what we will do with that situation. Sometimes the situations can be that simple, and it worked for him. He did it. And he said if he still doesn't listen, then you tell him, this Bal Govinda has come up to our home. We have to give him nice treatment, as a guest. So we have to allow him to rest on time. So tomorrow we will play for him. So the children have to feel that my parents are dutiful, and they are also asking me to be dutiful about what they are asking in life. Not again, you do this for us, but we will not follow anything ourselves. So anyways, the point was, be careful with words. They come out in reality. If you keep talking about your child, इसका तो भगवान भी कुछ नहीं कर सकते. Then you have it. And then later on, don't blame Krishna, ISKCON, Prabhupada, or devotees or any other thing. Why this happened to my child. So, that's few things about this. Can you imagine what a hard task loving someone is? This is loving. In simple terms, when people say, I love you, you ask them, really? Will you do all these things unconditionally and uninterruptedly throughout your life? I think I'll think again about it before giving this commitment. So love is a verb, no? It's not just a feeling. When you say to love, this is what it means. This is what Krishna does for us since time immemorial. He's our real parent. And you agree? Krishna has been quite forgiving despite all the leela that we perform. And that Krishna has been quite service oriented. He keeps on serving us unconditionally, uninterruptedly, in every species of life, no matter what nonsense we are doing. So my realization about this topic is parenting is the best way to connect to Krishna and develop our relationship with Krishna by starting to feel real gratitude, real feeling of that weight of relationship. Because then we start appreciating, my God, what all Krishna has done for me in my life. Question. Please pass the mic.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. You were mentioning about the 70 no's and 7 yes.
9 yeses.
9 yeses.
Statistics.
So,
in a day.
because connecting that to the why somebody says something, like if you squeeze lemon, you'll get lemon juice. So maybe something is there in the heart, in general, in the parent community, that only no's come out. So what is
Usually
it
it is
behind?
coming from their ancestors. They also got trained in that way. Another is that habits die hard. Once you develop some pattern of thinking and acting, it's very difficult sometimes to change quickly. And thirdly, we find some emotional security in being a controller. We have to find that emotional security in being a servant. So that is where it goes. So we come back here. This is how it works in terms of mentoring. And when you mentor very nicely, you give children inspiration to be with you, to be influenceable by you. Without this in the background, things don't work further. Then comes organizing. Organizing is of two kinds, internal and external. Internal organization means being organized in our thoughts, words, and actions. Exactly knowing the course of action that we plan. Sometimes it's good that the two parents sit together and they rehearse a mock situation that they are going to soon deal with their kid. You say an input and the response comes and there's another. So you better organize how it could be. And then external organization means creating certain type of favorable environments and facilitation for the child. For example, for me to conduct this class, we need the sound system in place, and we need a whiteboard and a marker, and we need some prasadam at the end. So that's an external organization, right? Before even I begin my teaching, if I have not worked on these things in the background, my teaching is not going to be effective. So both are important, internal and external organization. And then finally comes instructing or teaching or whatever the acts of influencing are. Sometimes teaching is not instructing in the sense giving statements. Teaching could be storytelling, whole class discussion, a discussion with the kid. Teaching could be experiential learning. You heard that story, Janak Maharaj was approached. He approached Ashtavakra Muni who came to his court and he said, how to get rid of material attachment. Ashtavakra Muni ran out and he went into the garden and grabbed hold of a tree, tightly embracing him from all sides. Leave me, tree, leave me, he was shouting. And all the citizens ran behind him and they were looking, what is this fellow doing? Huh? They said, excuse me, sir, the tree is not grabbing you. You are grabbing the tree. I said, that you got the answer. How to get rid of material attachments? They are not catching you. Your iPhone has not caught you. You have caught it. Oh, is that so simple? So, teaching just doesn't mean instructing. It can mean varieties of approaches. And as parents, we should be well prepared. Like Arjuna had many astras in his quiver. Different strokes for different folks. So you should have, there is this whole Panchatantra, you know that story, right? That Vishnu Sharma, what is his name? Vishnu Sharma. You know, there was this 3 stupid sons of a big king and he wanted to teach them, lessons in morality, Rajadharma and all that. And they were not at all wanting to learn anything. So then this Vishnu Sharma came, he said, the caliber of a teacher is how he can handle a stupid student. So he said, I will take charge of them and within 1 year, I will make sure that they are capable of ruling as prince in your kingdom. And he did that, and that's the whole Panchatantra, and it's all story form. All stories. And you should also know what those stories are from Panchatantra. So, that is about teaching methods. There are various teacher-learner approaches, and we should get a little hang of them. Because we have our own Ghisapita approach. Every time something happens, first thing that comes out is an instruction. It's like a Brahmastra. And after that, the whole devastation takes place and nothing works. Any other method after that doesn't work. You have seen that? Then you try and go, speaking sweetly and give him some lollipop. And they say, "Abhi ho gaya sab, tabah ho gaya sab cheez." Nothing can happen further. You did all the nonsense in the beginning. So we should get prepared with this. One of the things we should really get good at is art of storytelling. I remember in my childhood, I watched one movie, it's in Marathi, called Shamchi Ai. And the situation is so unique. Sham, he likes to sing. And you see the smile on his face. So, Sham has an elder son. They are a very poor family. But his mother is an exceptional lady with high character. So once Sham is taking bath, in the villages there are wells and you draw water and take bath outside. Then he requests his mother that can you please spread your dupatta like that so that I can walk without touching my foot to the mud on the ground. Mother, without any question, she does it. Her nice cloth getting dirty. And this Maharaj, he walks. And then she brings him in the home. And then she says a very interesting statement to him. She says, Sham, just like you are very careful that no dirt should touch your feet, please always be careful that no dirt should enter your mind also. No dirty thing should enter your mind. So the whole movie is full of this kind of instructions. In another occasion, Sham's elder brother has come. He's staying in a faraway place, learning in a hostel. Once a month he gets to come home and he has to walk because they don't have money. He walks like 25 kilometers to come home. So in the night when they're resting, Sham is little upset because every time his brother comes, he gets more attention by the mother. And Sham feels, my love is getting divided. Siblings rivalry. So the brother, he requests Sham, my feet are paining very bad. Will you please massage them? Just 5 minutes. You walk over them. And Sham, he get lost. I don't care. I have also got tired. I want to also take rest. So his mother is watching the non-cooperation movement. And what does she do? She sings a beautiful song. Bharajariga pitambara dila paduna Draupadi si bandhu shobhe narayana. In Vedic culture, everything is inbuilt. Your instructions are also integrated with pastimes of the Lord. She is telling how Draupadi accepted Krishna as her brother, and when Krishna got a finger cut, immediately without caring for it, her costly silk sari, she tore off and gave Krishna to tie up the wound. And later on, Krishna also reciprocated with her, by saving her Sheila. So, they both, this mother sings this song describing the interaction between Draupadi and Krishna. The song is so heart-touching. Everyone in the household is crying tears as they are hearing it. And then the song ends. After 2-3 seconds of silence, Shyam quietly gets up and starts massaging the feet of his brother. And then he looks at his mother a little angrily. I know why you sang that song. Because you wanted to teach me, So sometimes we have to figure out ways and means how to influence without just instructing. There are various ways of doing that, and we should learn those ways and not just apply every time something happens, Brahmastra. So, be careful. So this is, I hope you got the model so far. Principles of effective relationship building. Any relationship, this is how it goes. Modeling, mentoring, organizing and teaching. Now there are 3 mistakes that we make in following this model. The first mistake we make is we don't follow the sequence. It goes this way, right? We typically begin this way. All of us. As soon as a child commits any mistake or mischief, we all somehow or other, especially after coming to Krishna consciousness, always carry a hammer of philosophy. What we have heard from scriptures and Guru, Sadhu and everything. So anything that goes on, the first thing that comes out is, like one time one person came and he asked me, why do you wear this kanthi mala? Then our face lit up. Ab aaya oot pahad ke niche. Please sit down. We take out the hammer of philosophy. Hold his head tight. And then bang, 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 we bang him so bad. There are 4 regulative principles: no meditating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. Anyone who follows the standards of purity, only he has the right to wear this kanthi mala. Why no meat eating? Tak, 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 tak. Why no gambling? Tak, 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 tak. Why no intoxication? Tak, tak, tak. It's like a windows, opening in the head. With every click, new thought. And then we give such an explanation, precise and elaborate. And that person is saying, water, please save me, And then at the end, we must conclude by telling them, just like when municipal corporation people come, they catch those dogs who don't have the Yamadutas, when they will come, they will only catch those people who don't wear kanthi mala. There completes the answer. I have done this myself. I know why you are laughing. So, and by that time 1.5 hours has gone, in the explanation part. He just asked one question, why do you wear? And then we come out victorious. We are like, operation successful, patient is dead. प्रभु जी ऐसा प्रचार किया ना, कभी वापस डिवोटी नहीं बनेगा वो जिंदगी में. He will never become a devotee. I assure you that. Same we do with our kids. Because we become Shastri Bua, applying logic to emotional situations. The question is simple, why do you wear kanthi mala? The answer is also very simple. This kanthi mala represents a tradition in which a person follows certain purity standards and he wears this to indicate that I am under an oath. That's it. Now, if you ask what are those oaths, that's a different question. You get what I'm saying?
Prabhuji, thank you. Generally, in this, these four things that you mentioned, other than for with our children, with respect to preaching also, we don't generally get into those situations thinking about all of these things. You've not planned, you've not organized, you've not mentored. I mean, all of these things seems to, yeah, it's very useful. But how do you really, you don't get into certain situations?
I'll come to your question later because it's not related to parenting, first of all. And secondly, as I explain the three mistakes, it will become clear. So the first mistake we typically make is we begin from this end of the spectrum. First we start teaching. And when we teach in a teachy way, or preach in a preachy way, whatever you call it, then what happens? We suddenly one day realize actually itne sare points bolne ki zarurat hi nahi thi. There was no need to tell all these 100 things that I said. Then we start becoming a little organized in our thoughts and words. I think before I go for preaching, it is good to start preparing for it. Otherwise, too much spontaneity leads to destruction, devastation. So then we start becoming organized. And then sometimes we go to the program and there we realize, today there is no prasad. Somebody forgot to bring. Today there is no, murdangondi in the program. It has happened sometimes. Then we start external organization. Then one day we realize actually people will not listen to me unless they feel loved. Parents also understand that. My child can't listen to me unless they feel I'm really a loving person to them. So one day suddenly the mother becomes very loving. And the child is wondering what went wrong. बोले मम्मी को क्या हो गया? So we suddenly become loving. And one day, whichever that good day is in our life, it dawns upon us actually I am such a poor example of what I profess to others. And I have so much homework to do. Before opening my mouth and shouting instructions, better I start living some few things, myself. So I start modeling. So that's about the first mistake, not following the. The second mistake we commit is that we think one is enough. You have seen there are these combination locks, 4 numbers, and you exactly align all the 4 numbers and tuck, the lock opens. In our heart, we have a gate of self-change. What is the name of that gate? Gate of self-change. We stand ourselves as a security guard at that gate and don't allow anybody to enter. Nobody can influence us to change our behavior. Who can influence? Our free will. We choose, and only then it happens. So we are all diligently guarding the gate of self-change in our heart. And the only way to unlock that gate is when this combination is fully applied by us. You want to bring out a change? When all these 4 things are fully in place, does the child accept you as a change maker? So, 1 is not enough, all 4 are must. Sometimes we tend to think, you see my modeling, I get up in the morning, chant 16 rounds, sitting in one place, never miss a program. You have heard me giving Bhagwatam classes, what kind of knowledge I have. Teaching exceptional. Why don't you follow me? People will say, ठेंगा, नहीं करता follow, जा, क्या करेगा? You know. Then someday we say to them, you know, I have loved you so much. What all have I not done for you? I have spent sleepless nights, and what have we lacked in providing you? You know, there is everything in our home. You know, money, gadgets, you know, vehicles, whatever you want, this, that. Why don't you follow me? What am I asking you to do? So you get now these dialogues, where are they coming from? You are getting the paradigms. What is wrong? So as I said, all four are important. Any one of it is missing, you become uninfluenciable, non-influencing. Have you thought of it, Srila Prabhupada, the master teacher? Did he follow this sequence? He was a good role model of what he taught. He was extremely loving and service oriented. He did this unconditionally and uninterruptedly. He was exceptional in organization. He exactly knew which books to publish first, which to later. His thinking and words and actions were aligned. And he also has arranged a very beautiful ISKCON, ISKCON. Such an organization with such amazing. And then he has also exceptional teachings. Prabhupada's instructions are so precise. So, that second mistake, one is not enough, all four are must. The third one is once is not enough. These are mistakes, so I am writing them as mistakes. Don't follow this. Once is enough. So, Hari Bol. So, once is not enough. We have to do this on a daily basis. Sometimes, typical, you can see that husband-wife quarrel. They usually do. And then you ask the husband, when was the last time that you gave a gift to your wife and said, I am so thankful to you for all that you do in our home? पाँच साल हो गया रहेगा प्रभु जी. 5 years back. Sometimes we tell our friend, don't you remember, I had told you that I love you so much 10 years back. So, once is not enough. We have to do these things on a day-to-day, ongoing basis if you want to keep relationships enlivened and connected. Especially with close family members. It's must. With others, sometimes there is a time and space gap. But at least with family members, they should happen consistently. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's a very awesome point. I'm trying to understand, like, what we have two kid boys, 6 and 4, and one of the philosophy that we have used consistently is the carrot and stick, the very transactional kind of a equation where you try to influence the kid to do things. Is that a good model, or do you consider that as more as a mistake against this model?
What is the transactional model again?
The carrot and stick, like, you kind of influence, okay, if you do this, you are going to kind of get this gift. You have a point system that you work with, incentivizing a certain behavior.
Well, we have fear, desire, duty, love. 4 platforms why people surrender to God. So if you are operating at fear level or desire level, then we'll get those type of followers. If you are operating at duty level, love level, we'll get those type of followers. In any case, we will get followers in ISKCON. So fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, but love of God is the culmination of wisdom. So we have to figure that out. Okay, he may come Artho Jidnyasu, Artharthi Jnani, whatever category. We accept. But by our dealings over a period of time with them should not just remain transactional. Whatever works, you do it. That's fine. But that cannot be the consistent training pattern.
That's actually a good point. I mean, I think someone had told me that especially for the younger kids, the transactional part works, but as and when they start to hit the teen, that's where you need to upgrade the point, and you need to move beyond the fear or incentivizing the certain behavior. And I think that totally resonates what you're saying.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Yes.
So, with respect to children, when you said that this has to be on a consistent basis, but it does happens in real life situations that you tend to, or at least I tend to lose the patience, things like that, and between husband and wife there is shouting. That does happen. So, does it really how does it affect?
Yeah. Can husband and wife quarrel in front of child? What can they do in front of child to each other? So, phalena parichayate. How long are we going to apply our Ghisapeta formulas? If you are now getting new skill set, let's open the gate of self-change from within and take in at least the new model of thinking, if not right now application. So we start contemplating in this direction, we'll also start applying it in our life. Well begun. Yes.
Prabhuji, one question. I don't know if that question is relevant to now or later, but it's regarding the parent. So in Srimad Bhagwatam, there's a story of Anga and Vena. So he was a good parent, but
having a bad progeny.
Yeah, and I think he supposed he followed this all sequence, everything, but still his child didn't become a devotee. So my question is...
Did Anga Maharaj go back to Godhead?
I don't exactly... I think so, yeah.
So his child didn't become a devotee. So
my question is, like some devotee parents, we see that, they try to train the child and everything. Later, they didn't become a full-fledged devotee. Sometimes they...
Yeah, we will talk about what do we mean by success of parenting, the goals.
Okay.
Soon. Let us not calculate success of parenting in terms of my child getting initiated, following 16 rounds, 4 relative principles, ... No cookie cutter system. Same molds for everyone. We'll just first define now two things. What are the exact job description of parents? Because karmanneva dhikarahate. Now don't call this job description. This I'm using as your typical corporate language. This is technically called dharma of parents. What is parental dharma? So in Srimad Bhagwatam, in the section of Prithu Maharaj, there is a mention of how Prithu Maharaj tended his praja like a father, like a parent. And there are some Sanskrit terms used there which I will not quote, but I will tell you the meanings of them. The first duty is to nourish. Physically, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally. We have to nourish our children without fail. Second is to protect. So, Shita, Atapa, Bata, Barishana, environmental problems and various types of miseries, calamities that may come. But protection is not just limited to providing food, clothing, shelter. More than that, it goes in the dimension of protecting the mind of the child from negative influences, temptations, deviations, doubts, distractions. So we have to protect them from Maya, in short. The third is to equip. To give them capacities, competences, willingness to be a servant, in different situations, and good character. So, character, competence, capacity, and consent, willingness to want to be a servant. So, we need to equip them for these things. The next item is to engage them in purposeful activities to offer meaningful contribution in the society. So the greatest challenge I have found is that the parents neither have time nor inclination, or especially the skills, to keep their children properly engaged. They usually tend to hand over their child to modern day putana called TV or internet or various gadgets. She looks very attractive, but she feeds poison to the babies, completely killing dormant Krishna consciousness in their heart. She becomes the false guru for a whole generation. And do you know what it takes to destroy a culture? A whole civilization and its culture? One generation of neglect of their culture. That's good enough. What does it take to destroy a culture? Just one generation of neglect. Nothing more is there. And eventually nobody will know what that culture was in future. So it is so important that we don't just find easy ways out to get spare time for ourselves, but actually become expert in engaging our kids in meaningful activities. I remember once I had gone to one devotee's home. In their home they were hosting a program, and the main host Mataji was very busy cooking and setting up things around. And there was one child of the attendee, that came. She was a small girl, 4 or 5 year old. He was going around curiously, aimlessly, wasting time, doing nothing. So this Mataji, while her cooking is going on, she catches this girl and tells her, come here, come here, come here. Can you go around in my home and find out which all places Krishna name or Krishna deity or Krishna painting is present? And if you tell me accurately the number, then she showed her some rasmalai or rasgulla, like that incentive business. So this is yours. And the girl was enough inspired after that. And I saw then after that, girl is going Krishna 1, Krishna 2, Krishna 3, Krishna 4, Krishna 5, Krishna 7. 20 minutes she was 100% Krishna conscious. And then she came back and said, 32 places, Mataji. And then she got her rasgulla. She said, thank you very much. Now you may wonder, what is this? This is called genius in engaging. So this is a very wild example, but there are various ways to engage children. Now our another problem is our definition of engagement is also very rigid. Our definition of engagement means sit down and chant 2 rounds. So that's a typical one. And our child is good if they do it, and they are terrible if they fail to do it. That's additional. Can you see where the expectations go? Now I will ask you a question. If you are 5-year-old, will you sit down and chant 2 rounds? Honestly tell me. Abhi bhi you don't sit down and chant 2 rounds properly. There is no question of chanting them, when you are 5-year-old. Don't mind I'm not personalizing it. It's just a generic, even I have problem with my chanting. So we all know how it is. Sit down and chant very nicely your 2 good rounds. Who does that? So I ask this question, if your child likes to do 15-minute kirtan and they refuse to chant 2 rounds, what should you do? Fine, because Kirtan is more absorbing and more activity oriented. And we have heard Kirtan is 1,000 times more beneficial than Japa. It's okay. Till they grow in maturity to understand that Japa is important, it's fine. So, we can go on this topic. What do you mean engage? So, generally, if you can't give them spiritual engagement all the time, can they be all the time engaged in Krishna conscious activities? Are we engaged all the time in Krishna conscious activities? We also need a break from Krishna in between. हमारा भी engine गर्म हो जाता है. After chanting 16 rounds and attending a class and you feel अभी बहुत हो गया Krishna Krishna. अभी let me go in Maya for some time somewhere. At least just give me a break from Krishna. If I'm not going to go in Maya, that's fine. We all have that experience. And we want them to be 24/7 Krishna conscious. Now how that is going to happen? So we all have a portion of Rajo, Tamo, Guna, Sattva, Guna in us. Swabhavastu pravartate. A man will helplessly act according to his nature. Nigraha kim karishyati. Krishna is saying, what can repression accomplish? So when it comes to ourselves, we nicely justify with these shlokas. Subhavaha tu pravartate Prabhu. Nigraha kim karishyati. Such a hypocrisy. So we have to be sensitive to others' needs and values also. So we go to, if you can't give them Krishna consciousness, give them goodness. And this is a very broad field. There are hundreds of engagements you can find here as well as here in these two fields. So give them goodness, engage them in moral, ethical, varied activities from which they can learn valuable things for themselves. Learning music, performing Bharatnatyam, painting, or even in games. There is swimming or wrestling, or Prabhupada said these are all good in terms of development. Or even martial arts to some extent, if the teacher is good, not in passion but in goodness. So that's engage. And then finally, cultural engineering. Now you have heard civil engineering, mechanical engineering. You may wonder what is this new thing. When we become teachers or parents, we have to become exceptional cultural engineers. Cultural engineering means every thought, word and action that we have as a teacher or a parent is carving out a certain type of culture around us. And we have to be very careful with that. It's called ethos. Have you seen sometimes you enter in someone's home and you feel the vibration? That here two hostile people are staying who have raised a concentration camp for the kids. You feel it. In another home you enter, here comes organized chaos. Everything is haywire in the home. The parents themselves are not in shape doing any fruitful things, and the kids are also all over. Another place you enter, you can feel the culture that prevails. And like I came to this temple, first time I entered, ISKCON was giving the class, all of you are sitting and hearing, studying Bhagavad Gita. You can feel it. What kind of quality cultural engineering is this? And you can sense it in this earnestness of the listeners wanting to hear and the purity of the presenter in speaking, the message without adulteration, without selfish interests. Cultural engineering. We are all carving out a certain culture around us, every moment to moment. We have to become aware of that. So, these are job descriptions. Cultural engineering also means what kind of artifacts and ambience we create around in our homes. So, all the senses should repeatedly get, by default, if not Krishna conscious inputs, at least goodness inputs. That is how the structure should be in the surroundings. So these are some thoughts on cultural engineering. Question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. You mentioned that engage either Krishna consciousness or give them goodness, but it can invariably happen that some kid is into passion and he wants to do passion, and the goodness, that's like how Dhruva Maharaj was saying, I don't understand what instruction you
Then I
have
would
given."
add one item there. It's called dovetail. So if they have passion and ignorance, like Ghatotkach, son of Bhima, he had so much ignorance. So Krishna nicely engaged him in service. And Ghatotkach also knew कि मेरा life ऐसा ही है. I'm in a sense, not in the shape to actually the best possible way through this body to serve. And he knew that I have to serve my father and die one day. So dovetail. Like when Prabhupada, he came to America, he saw all the civilization. Rajastamo gune rasabai achanna. Oh Lord, everybody here is covered with passion and ignorance. How do you want me to speak your message to them? Prabhupada was asking that question, in the song. And what did he do? He dovetailed their passion and ignorance. Like in our ISKCON in those days, if somebody littered up a match with a matchstick, a candle, he would be made the California State Electricity Board director for lighting up a candle. So that was the kind of empowerment people used to get, in ISKCON. I think you didn't get my joke. One person came, Prabhupada asked him, you have any experience with magazines? Which meant that, do you know how to publish, edit, print, Swamiji, I have read a few of them once in a while. Prabhupada says, so from tomorrow onwards, you are our chief editor. Now you got the joke. So this is how Prabhupada engaged them. So little spark, you fan it anywhere. And this is interesting. There is a story of one Chinese boy called Sensi. This Sensi, he had a birth problem, birth defect. His left arm was, amputated, not there at all. But he had a great desire to learn Kung Fu. So there are monasteries, like they show in the Kung Fu Panda movie, up in the hill somewhere. So this is interesting. Huh? Some of the boys in our Pune, who are my students, they brought me this Kung Fu Panda part 1. And they said, Prabhuji, you must watch this movie. I said, I'm a brahmachari, I don't watch movies. What do you want? Last 20 years I have not watched a movie. He said, Prabhuji, this movie, there is a great learning. I said, really? How teacher-student relationship works and how are we to conduct ourselves in that relationship is very nicely told in this movie. I said, wow, that purport if you are giving me, I am interested. But still, movies, still I am feeling little. Prabhuji, don't worry, there are no Matajis in the movie. I said, wow. Pure brahmachari movie. So anyways, I did watch it on their earnest request. And I sat with them actually and we figured out those principles. How a disciple should be innocent, dedicated to his kala, art that he wants to learn. How he should give up anything and everything to pursue his inner fire. And how the teacher should be. He should develop acceptance of the student as they are and not want them to mold, fit their mold. So many things. Anyways, now I think you are all planning to go and watch the movie.
We'll take your word for it.
Give them goodness. Now, Sensi. Sensi went to a Kung Fu teacher, his monastery somewhere up in the hill. And in the night, by the time he reached, it was evening, and he saw somebody was brooming outside. He ran towards that person, and the person suddenly saw him coming running. He went inside and locked the door. He said, what kind of treatment is this? So he sat down on the rock nearby. It was a cold night, windy, chilly. Somehow he survived the night, no food in stomach. Next day morning, he knock on the door. Nothing, nobody responded. After a long time, again that old man came out. And he was brooming, cleaning the thing. And Sensei went, fell at his feet, please, I want to learn Kung Fu, teach me, this and please allow me admission into this monastery. That person, he behaved as if he's a deaf person. He didn't hear anything. He just went on brooming, cleaning nicely. After he cleaned, he went inside, locked the door. And this was too much. Another day passed. By the time the evening came, Sensei was into tears. He said, what is this? Am I going to get ever inside? So next day morning, when he had not gone away still, the door of the monastery opened. One boy came out and told him, you are welcome. They took him inside and they introduced him to the chief of that monastery, and that was the same old man who came brooming outside. He was the martial arts champion of China. And then they said, he's our teacher. So then they have their way of Abhivadan. And then his training began. And his master told him two conditions. When I'm teaching you, you just have to practice what I have told you with great sincerity. Number 2, don't compare yourself with others. And become disappointed that you are learning something or not learning something from me. I said, all right. So Sensei began his learning. Master gave him the first move. He learnt it in 7 days. He came back again. Master gave him the same move once again. He said, you have to continue practicing this for 2 months. He said, fine. He did it for 2 months. He came back to his master again. All other students were being taught 5th, 10th, 15th moves, are ahead. And he was just stuck on, in one move. 1 full year passed. His master did not teach him another move. He's still doing that one thing that he was doing. And after 1 full year, Sensei was wondering whether I'm so low class that I don't get ahead further. At the end of that year, the master announced that all of their monasteries now ready for the World Championship title tournament in China. And they enrolled Sensei's name. And Sensei was shocked. He said, I'm going to fight with 1 move. So Sensei went into the match. First match he won. Second match he won. He went into quarterfinal, semi-final, final match. He came up to a level where he was going to face the champion of China in Kung Fu. And Sensei stood in front of him. That person had a body like a thunderbolt and dexterity unbelievable. And Sensei, he was thinking, I don't think it is going to happen. I'm dead. So he looked at his master. So master called him. I know you are fearing him. Just make that 1 move that I taught you and you will win. So Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chitte te kariya, Arana kariha mane. So finally he came in front of that person. He stood there with 2 feet firm on ground, looked at the opponent, and when the opponent came attacking him, he just made that 1 move. And that opponent was flat on ground, finished. And for a while, in the whole of China, nobody could believe what happened. And even Sensei couldn't believe what happened. He first looked at him, then looked at his guru. And then they declared him, he's the champion of China for Kung Fu. And all kinds of accolades and praise. And then Sensei began to cry when he won the title. He ran to his guru after the tournament. He fell at his feet and he asked, how did I win? That was the only question he had. How did I win? I will tell you the secret. The 1 move that I taught you, because you didn't practice anything else, you have become so champion in making that move that you are the best person in making this move in the whole China. This move has a counter move, but that requires that the opponent has to hold your left arm, which you don't have. And by the time he realizes it, he is dead. Sensi said, I can't believe this can be a training to somebody. So, a master teacher or a parent is one who, despite knowing the weaknesses of their children or students, turns those weaknesses into their strengths and gets them to perform in devotional service. So, the more we look at the defects, we may get depressed. The more we look at the possibilities, we will get encouraged. So let's do that with our kids. Krishna has been doing that with us for a long time. He has been overlooking our defects and looking at the possibilities. So, I hope that makes some sense. Any comments or questions? So, I want you to repeat a statement. This is by Socrates. The secret of change is not in fighting the old, but in building the new. So you want your child to change? And he has some defects and the old patterns of behavior. You want to focus there? Good luck. So we have to, anartha nivrutti has to be coupled with artha pravrutti. Only then we can do good to them. Question?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sometimes I will tell my children, if you do this, then you will get this. So yesterday after listening to your lecture, I am discussing with one of my friends. So she said it is not a good idea. So, but in my case, they have some interests for that day. So then if they ask for that, and if they don't do homework or some competition is coming, so I just want to make them prepare. So at that time what I say is if you do this, then you will get this. Is that a good idea?
So this brings to our third session of the discussion. The first session was the MMOT model. Modeling, mentoring, organizing, teaching. We should always keep that in mind when things are not working. And we have to not find just fault in the child, but also in us. Where is this not working, this model? The second we studied was the accurate job description of parents. Sometimes just to get to know your dharma with clarity, you get so much relief. And then that question that you asked, if you do this dharma, you are successful as a parent. Now you may say, but my son didn't become devotee. He became like Anga Maharaja's son Vena. What should I do about it? Well, we have in the history, Krishna's son became Narakasura. Advaitacharya's son became a Mayavadi. And we are also Krishna's children. We have become what we have become. Why? Because we have free will. And that free will, even Krishna doesn't manipulate. Yatha ichchasi. Vimrusha etad asheshena yatha ichchasi. So all that we can do for our kids is this MMOT plus those 5 job descriptions. After that, who they become, what they do. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phadeshu kadachana. So you will not be held accountable by God for your child not becoming a devotee, provided you have tried your best in following your dharma. So don't be under such a big pressure. Another thing is in the mold that we talked about. Some people say, 16 rounds, 4 regs, service within ISKCON, ... And if possible, in the good books of devotees, recognized by my spiritual master or the temple authorities, ... Some additional molds we create. I will ask you a question. If your child says that throughout my life I will chant 2 rounds and I will follow 2.5 regulative principles. It's a serious question. Don't. What do you think should we do with such kids? They are ISKCON, non-ISKCON, They are what? They are Mayavadis, they are atheists. So if you are subordinate, if you are preaching to somebody, they tell you that Prabhu, it's difficult for me. 16 rounds for I can do service unlimitedly for the temple. I can chant 2 rounds every day and I will follow 2.25 regulative principles.
So instead of not doing anything, it is better. And slowly we can make them do more.
You have a point to say?
No, I had a question.
No,
I can
no,
ask
question.
later.
Just complete the discussion. What do you think? Is this okay? Yes. How many of you say yes? Yes. Good. Which means that we allow the person to choose according to his free will, his level of surrender to Krishna, and we remain an inspirational, facilitational, compassionate figure in their life. Now don't use this as an excuse for yourself to say, Prabhu, I also today figured out, I am meant for actually 2 rounds and 2.5 regular. I will not accept. Because you are already chanting 16 rounds and are following for regular. You have capacity to do so. Of course, fear, desire, duty, love, I don't know what platform, but you have the capacity. So let's not go back to that lower standard. Sometimes I have to be careful what I teach because people take out any meaning suited for their situation. So anyways, the point is, if such a person continues to stay in touch with devotees, render seva in ISKCON or Prabhupada's mission, purification is on and we should be okay. So I hope that clarifies something about what to expect as a mold. The mold that we can have for them is to understand Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam. Krishna's every creation is perfect and complete. All forms of incompleteness are due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. So whatever incompleteness we are sensing, we have to just go on working on ourselves as a parent to fulfill that lacking from our end. In the process, they will blossom into the best persons they can be. So when I teach the parents, I tell them you are responsible. And when I teach the kids how to behave with parents, I tell them they are responsible. So don't mind it when I am saying this. So sometimes parents become very angry with me. Prabhu ji, sab kya hamara hi hai kya? Why the children are not supposed to do any duties for the parents or what? So you have to really put it back into perspective. We are talking about shelter givers, not shelter seekers. So the shelter giver has to give shelter without whether or not the other person surrenders. That's their duty. Now, we will go to age-appropriate learning and growth pattern for the kids. So this is the last discussion for the day. So we begin with age 0, then go up to age 7, then 14, and then 21. These are very broad ways of looking at the numbers are not in themselves representative of anything. They are just age-wise a clue giver. What is happening with the child? Some child may grow faster in certain zones, slower in other zones in the growth pattern. So we all know at the age 1 they start toppling over, 2 they start walking, 3 they start running. You have seen? And ... by this time the 7th age comes, the teeth fall. That's a sign that the child has now become independent of his mother. Nature is telling us. So till when does the child need undivided attention of the mother? 7 years. Some people think in America 7 days. I heard in one place I had gone in Atlanta, that lady said, the doctor told me you wean him away. I said, what age? He said, 7 days. Put him in another room, let him cry, throw whatever tantrum he wants to. After that he will adjust himself to the environment. What kind of demoniac civilization? You know, how much extra emphasis on independence for oneself rather than interdependence. So we have to be careful with such propaganda ourselves. So by the time teeth fall and hands, reach over the head to the right ear, left ear like that, that means the physical internal organs growth has become complete. By the time they become, I think, 9 year, 3 months old, the heart rate of the kid becomes same as that of an adult. Till then it is double. Do you know that? Because everything is growing inside. So this is the time zone in which they need the mother the most. And also this is the time zone in which their hands, heart and head is developing. What this means is their willpower, their feeling realm and their thinking realm is getting highly activated. We say thinking, feeling, willing, symptoms of consciousness, how they develop. So if the child is not allowed to do things with their hands, legs, voice freely, yet in a trained manner, eventually, then they'll develop lack of willpower. If in the childhood, if there is too much, what we call, there is scaffolding needed. You understand scaffolding? But that scaffolding cannot be stifling. You give support so that the growth is ongoing. They pick it up. So with hands, legs, voice, all the organs inside the body, heart, lung, everything gradually is growing. And the best way to engage that time is to give them activities, meaningful activities. So I don't have a time to actually go the details of each and every activity that can be done. But you can get a clue that when karmendriyas are developing, there is a training pattern for that. When the heart, the feelings are developing, there is a pattern for growing that. And when the head, thinking has become activated, there is a pattern for growing that. There are appropriate learning experiences to be provided. Now, don't click now because this is going to get filled up. And then at the end you can click the photo. Now, after this stage in the growth pattern of the child needs, here there is mother's control. Parental control to great extent, but mainly mother. And here is either father or teachers. That's the time generally the kids would be sent to Gurukul and they would be learning under them. The importance of having a good teacher was that a teacher is not sentimental like the parents. Parents are emotionally and even materially attached to their children. And children sense it. And then they exploit the parents for that. But when you send it to Gurukul, the child knows that this Guru Patni or Gurudev, they are going to act like my parents, no less than them. But they are not sentimentally attached to me. They are going to train me the way I am supposed to get trained. And that is why Gurukul system was so very important. Now in modern times we have homeschooling and etc., other versions of that. But the point is the teacher there needs to know what is to be done. Only then it works. And then after 14 usually there is peer control. So Annamaya Kosh, you know this, right? Annamaya, consciousness is riveted in food. Everything is food for the baby. The marker is food, shoelace is food, anything that appears anywhere, Annamaya. Very strong. Then there is Pranamaya that gets activated. Prana is Chala, so they like activity. So for them food is no more important. Play toys and playmates are more important because that is development of their prana shakti, and you should actually allow them to play. Not that you sit down and study. No. That's not the age yet. Then begins manomaya, generally around teenage. Manomaya means you become touchy-feely about things and you have likes and dislikes and you go by your mind. You don't like authority. Your mind becomes your authority. Whoever pampers your mind is wonderful. Whoever doesn't pamper your mind is horrible. So, and the most dangerous thing at that time to happen is that the child gets peer control in his life, where all other Manomaya Kosh fellows, they come around and add their, clutter additionally. Very dangerous stage. So Manomaya can be subdued provided one gets hooked with an authoritative teacher with whom one has got solid relationship. And usually those are not the parents. Very rarely parents are so mature, emotionally detached that they can act as perfect teachers. So we have to figure that out for our kids. And then eventually comes Jnanamaya. They start developing their own independently thoughtful process about the creation and their role in it. And when they exercise themselves in that role, they experience Vijnanam. They develop realizations of life and may go to the further Anandamaya stage. This is called Panchakoshatmak Vikas. This is complete holistic development of a child. In adulthood, all are active. Just like in a car, you have rubber, tin, plastic, metal. Then you have petrol that runs the car. Then you have these systems of, wind, wipers and, firing systems. And then you have artificial intelligence in the car. That you can put it on a certain speed, or sometimes you can be hands-free driving, You just feed, where you want to go and sit, and the car will take you. And then the driver inside sitting in the car is experiencing certain type of identity with the car. Ahankar. Ahamkar. I am this car. So he is delighting. Mine is BMW. Yours is Fiat Uno. So so that's ego platform, false or true identification. So that's how the growth is happening. So our body is made up of anna, gigo, garbage in, garbage out. If you feed garbage to your kids, junk food, what does their Annamaya Kosh become? Not proper. Their bones, marrow, muscles, everything becomes khokla, has no strength. Then prana shakti is wasted by breaking four regulative principles. Meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication. They really waste your prana thoroughly. And also pranamaya is wasted when you do improper engagement for your senses. Don't fully engage them properly. Exercise, yoga, whatever. And also service, physical work to the body. So everything is important and everything has to be facilitated at right stages. Prabhupada gave us the formula of A for association, B for books, C for chanting, D for diet, and E for engagement. Can you see that it fits this model? Your Vijnanamaya or Anandamaya really develops in association with saintly persons. You get your true identity as a servant back. Your Jnanamaya really develops when you study Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwatam regularly. Your Manomaya becomes good when you chant mantra. And your Pranamaya remains intact when you have proper engagements in bhakti and in your Varnashram, and also follow four regulative principles. And your Annamaya becomes wonderful by eating prasadam, prasada, Prabhu ke sakshat darshan. It's Krishna who is coming in the form of food. So, this is how Annamaya is. So, we have to cultivate these. They look very simple practices, but they are very profound. Otherwise, we'll have to go and perform Ashtanga Yoga, sitting in a jungle. So, better we do this nicely. So, this is the background of how the Panchakoshatmak Vikas in real life looks. And there is much more detail to this. For Annamaya, what kind of food to eat, when to eat, how to eat. There are things. You can study Ayurveda or basic books, authentic sources. For Pranamaya, which kind of engagements to give to the kids. Don't cut sabji, finger will get cut. Don't pour water there, you are spilling it all over. This is not the way to develop Pranamaya. You have to engage your kids along with you in all those activities that you do, except certain of them, so that they pick up their personality in full willingness. Now, coming to our spiritual training part, because that's my main focus. The usual books that you can teach them in this age group is Panchatantra and Ramayana. Why I say this is because Ramayana gives us really a core. And what children pick up from stories is amazing. Their understanding of good and evil, their understanding of moral and immoral. Everything grows through the stories that they listen. So, Ramayana teaches us what is meaning of idealism in life. And Ram and Sita and Lakshman, they are so ideal, sometimes we get, I can't be like that ever in my life. But still, it's important to learn. Then, in this portion, Srimad Bhagwatam, in story form, no philosophy yet. If they ask philosophical questions, you may answer. But usually it is through stories. And in this section, there is Mahabharata. There is a shloka by Chanakya Pandit. Please repeat after me. Pratas samaye dyuta prasangat madhyane stri prasangatah ratriyau cha chaurya prasangat kalau gacchati dhimatam. Dhimatam means intelligent people. How do they spend their time? Kalau gacchati dhimatam. Pratas samaye dyuta prasangat. Morning they spend their time in gambling. Madhyane stri prasangata. In the afternoon they associate with women. And ratriyau cha chaurya prasangat. In the night they spend time with thieves. Kalau gacchati dhimatam. In this way intelligent people spend their time. Some problem, right? With the shloka. This is Chanakya Pandit's riddle. So, Dyuta Prasanga means Mahabharata. Pratas Samaye, Dyuta Prasangat. One should study Mahabharata. This is for adults. Why? Especially in Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita. The essence of Mahabharata. Because Mahabharata teaches us how to deal with the world around. Duniya badi zalim hai. And you really need to work hard in establishing your status quo, doing sometimes politics, diplomacy, all kinds of things. So Mahabharata, especially Bhagavad Gita, gives you that vigor, like Arjuna, the warrior in the battlefield, to exactly know the principles to be adopted in our worldly dealings. Because you are going to leave your home and go to your work. And then in Vedic culture, nobody used to work 8 hours continuously. They used to come in between out and have lunch, take a nap, study scripture, and again go back to work. So, madhyane stri prasangataha. In the noon, spend time with Ramayana, Kaikeyi and Manthara. These 3 prasanga. Because of them, whole Ramayana happened. So, madhyane stri prasangataha. So, you should study Ramayana. Why? Because after coming home in the evening, you are going to deal with family members. There you should not bring Mahabharata. Kurukshetra. There you bring Ramayana, and in Ramayana you learn ideals. What is the ideal husband? What is the ideal father? What is the meaning of ideal brother or a wife? So we come with that mood in dealing with family members. And then finally, Ratrya Ucha Chaurya Prasangat. Now who is Chor? Vraje Prasiddham Navanita Chauram Gopangananam Chadukula Chauram Aneka Janmarjita Papa Chauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami. ऐसा सॉन्ग किसी ने लिखा नहीं रहेगा अभी तक. I offer my obeisances to best of all thieves. Who has done all kinds of theory. So, in the night you study Srimad Bhagwatam. Why? Because that's your personal private relationship with the Lord. You are really cultivating it before sleeping in the night. So, this is Vedic culture. Not that you wake up with newspaper. In the daytime you read business reviews. And then in the night you read Harry Potter. That is not how Kalo Gacchati Dhimatam. I hope makes sense. So age appropriate learning and age appropriate facilitation. Both we have to learn. This is a very vast topic. I am just giving you a clue and leaving you for your further research and application. This is where you should look in the direction of, so that you get. And please know, when your child is at the stage of Annamaya, you cannot effectively teach them things of Anandamaya. He is still struggling even to, lift anything. You are giving him bead bag in hand. Sometimes this is modern education. The child has no fingers developed, and they give him pen in hand and tell him write A, B, C. How will he write? He can't even hold yet. 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old, what is the hand development? Fingers. Is this not abuse? Child abuse? Is this not ragging? Kids. Sometimes I really feel parents raise their children like how they raise horses in the stable for the race course. They have to become part of the economy, to mint money for everyone. It's a very horrible, So, where was I? So, Annamaya is developing. You can create an ambience of spiritual culture. They will assimilate a lot culturally. In fact, their chitta is very active in this stage. Because senses, mind is not at full function. Anything you do around the child is making a direct samskara, impression on their chitta. How dangerous. Sometimes we think, we are talking some nonsense or we are criticizing others. What this baby understands. He understands in the sense the impression is being formed. In due course, he will do it. So we have to be very careful not to neglect that aspect. So this is about, and now I'll just give the last clue of the 5 types of curriculums we should design for training kids. And I need help in this, in case you are educationists or teachers. There is a lot to be done in this direction. The first training is Krishna consciousness. This is now after age 7 onwards, like proper rigorous, systematic training and education. Krishna consciousness has got Siddhanta, philosophy, or Sambandha Jnana. It has got skills and it has got values. So Vaishnava skills and etiquettes plus Vaishnava qualities to be developed. Second is child's Varna Ashrama Dharma. So Varna, we know Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, to have a proper understanding. And Ashrama, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanapasa, Sannyas. In the beginning, all are Brahmacharis. So we need to develop models for developing this in the child. We have to discover, build, and express. Build or develop. the child's core genius. You understand core genius? You don't understand core genius. Core genius means Vibhuti of Krishna manifesting through us, which is unique to us. All of us are excellent at something. Some of us are excellent in cooking, instruments, oratorship. Some of us are excellent in quarreling. So whatever we are excellent at, we have to use that in God's service. But we need to discover what it is, build it, develop it, and then express it. The Varnashrama Dharma, you can take help of superior's observation, the child's choices that it makes, and also some astrology to figure out what it is that the child is meant for. The third one is leadership and management skills. Along with Kali Yuga compatibility skills. They told me that it's an Aarti time and we need to end. So I'm not going to abruptly end. I'll just tell you this one aspect and then we'll conclude. Leadership and management. We don't want our kids to be like Shudras all the time. We want them to be at least Vaishya, Kshatriya or a Brahmana. So there are curriculums to be designed in this direction. And Kali Yuga compatibility skills means, we know, being part of Kali Yuga means a lot of crime, terrorism, pornography, hundreds of things going on around in the world. We need to give our children controlled doses of contamination under our nose, along with ability to handle that, so that there are no shocks for them when they deal with the world outside. We don't want to raise them like Rushya Shrunga in the forest, not knowing what is happening in the world around. So the fourth one is life skills: cooking, swimming, accounting, driving, communication. And fifth is academics. The Ghisapita career path. This is not the sole goal of life. There is a lot to be done with the child. No school teaches this rest of the things, usually. This is purely the jurisdiction of parents, and that's why parents have to be excellent teachers. So just to summarize, we studied the MMOT model to first get the paradigm clear of parenting. Then exact job description, dharma: equip, protect, nourish, equip, engage, culturally engineer. And lastly, we studied the age appropriate learning and growth. This was quite rapid. I didn't actually get into the much details of that. But you get a fair idea of where and what to expect from the child at which stage. Don't give them ragging by making wrong expectations from them. And here are some more details on what is the training part to be offered to the children. So there, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.